This is an apology, some 50 years too late. It's an apology to a little girl, or at least she was a little girl when I knew her. She's older than I am. If she's still alive, she is no longer a little girl. And if I apologized to her, if I actually spoke to her, these would be the first words I ever said to her, which is one more thing I should apologize for. And the thing is, we had many things that we could have spoken about. That's on me. We had things in common. We both were elementary school kids. She was a big kid, of course. She was in 6th grade. I was in 1st. We both went to the same elementary school. We both went on the same bus. But that's where the similarities ended. You see, I sat on the back of the bus, and she sat in the front. Same seat every day. And I sat laughing and joking with my friends, and she sat quietly speaking with no one. And of course, I am white, and she is black. She was the only black kid on the bus. Really, very few black kids in the school. Now, you might wonder what her name was. Well, her name was Tittle. That was her name. I assume she had a first name. God knows I didn't have the courage to ask. That would have elicited taunts of love and marriage from the kids on the bus, or worse, taunts of Tittle cooties, cooties the color of which I really had not known yet. Now, I'd like to relook at that last statement. I want to put it in perspective. It's 1968. I'm 7 years old. All girls have cooties. I have no problem with that part of the statement, but the fact that I really had not known anyone black, I knew of people who were black. I knew of Michael Jackson and his 4 brothers. I knew of Pete Dixon on room 222. He was the coolest guy in the world. I wanted him to be my teacher. I knew of the 2 athletes on the Olympic podium, holding their hand above their heads proudly. My parents looking, saying, those 2 men are courageous. I knew of Martin Luther King. In fact, it was that year, when in 1st grade, we bowed our heads on the day that he was killed. So I knew of some black people, but I knew nothing of Tittle, because I didn't have the courage to simply say hello to this little girl named Tittle. That was her name. Her name was Tittle, but it was our name too. It was our name of our game called Tittle Tag, that we would play occasionally at the bus stop as we waited for the rumbling of the bus. God knows we could run like the wind back then, arching our back so as not to be touched, so as not to be covered with Tittle cooties, so as not to understand the meaning of the game that we were really playing, the boundaries of which went well beyond that bus stop. No, her name was Tittle. And she was not at that bus stop, of course. That would have been impolite, playing Tittle Tag with Tittle there. We were little monsters, no doubt, but we were well-mannered monsters. I've come to learn that the most effective monsters always are well-mannered, that is. Now, her name was Tittle, and she stood alone at her own bus stop, and I could still remember seeing the bus pull up and remember seeing her raising her hand as she heard the rumbling of the bus. Raising her hand, still dimpled with youth. Raising her hand, waving to her mother standing in the window, the white curtain between them, raising her hand as if to say, I have the courage to do this, Mom. I can get on their bus and go to their world. And she did. Every single day, sat in her seat up front, always empty, covered with its thick black naga hide skin, and her name was Tittle. And she left that school the very next year. She went to junior high, and she left my mind. For decades, I never thought about this girl named Tittle. Until one night, I was reading a book to my 6th grade daughter, and I noticed that her hands were still dimpled with youth, and I thought of Tittle. And right then, my mind started running backwards towards a bus stop. Right then, I started playing Tittle Tag with Tittle herself. God knows she could run like the wind, arching her back so as not to be touched by me, so as not to be covered with my cooties. I could not catch her. To ask her if she would please tell me her first name. I could not catch her. To kneel down before her, to ask her if she would please step on my back to get on her bus. I could not catch her. To ask her if she would please accept this apology. Some 50 years. Too late.